And this meditation subject is recommended specifically for the purpose of overcoming sensual lust or sensual craving. We know that according to the analysis of the Four Noble Truths, the second noble truth, the noble truth of the cause or origin of suffering, is craving. And the Buddha explains that there are three kinds of craving. One is sensual craving, or the craving for sensual pleasures. The second is craving for existence. The third is craving for annihilation. And so, to eliminate craving for sensual pleasures, the direct antidote, the direct remedy, is the mindfulness directed to the body, or the perception of the unattractive, impure nature of the body. And this meditation can be practiced in a number of modes. Like if one focuses upon the unattractive or impure nature of the bodily parts, then it becomes the asubha sanya, the perception of impurity or unattractiveness, which is used to eliminate, to counteract, and to eliminate sensual lust. But the meditation on the 32 parts of the body can also be used as part of the meditation on the elements. And so if you look at the way the Buddha explains the meditation on the four elements, the first 20 parts of the body pertain to the earth element, the element of solidity, and the 12 liquid parts pertain to the water element. And then in addition, there are certain aspects of the body which belong to the fire element, other aspects that belong to the air or wind element. And what I found also is that the meditation on the parts of the body can also constitute a very direct way to gain insight into non-self, to selflessness or emptiness. Because we usually identify with the body, we take the body to be I am what I am, this is me, this is mine, this is myself. But when one starts investigating the body in terms of its various constituents, then the question arises, where is the I am in all of this? It's just a collection of parts which are, unified and functioning together to create this physical organism. But amongst all of these parts functioning together, there's nothing that you could home in on and say, that is I am. So when you look into the body as constituted of all of these parts, it appears to be just an assemblage which is empty of any kind of substantial self, any kind of solid, permanent, lasting, identifiable identity. Okay, so traditionally, based on the canonical texts, the practice of mindfulness on the parts of the body is explained as the contemplation of 32 parts, 32 organs and tissues and constituents of the body. The suttas actually mention 31 parts, but the later texts add the brain to give a more even number, 32. Okay, so these are the 32 parts of the body. You can see them listed here. So we go down the list, and then we'll look at some tables which I collected in order so that you could get familiar with these parts. Because in order for the meditation to be truly effective, one has to have at least some perception of the constituent parts of the body. Okay, so we have hairs of the head, hairs of the body, nails, including the fingernails and toenails, the teeth, and the skin. And these 5 constitute a group which are taught to novices on the occasion of their ordination. So when the person is ordained as a novice monk, part of the ordination ceremony is that his teacher will teach him the 5 parts of the body, these 5 parts of the body. And it's said, reported in the commentaries, that quite a number of people who took ordination, as soon as the 5 parts were taught to them, they achieved arhatship. So these are actually the 5 parts of the body. When you look at any person, what we see, if you really analyze what are you actually seeing perceptually, what we're seeing are these 5 parts. So I look at Ravi here. So what am I seeing? Hair of the heads. Then I see the eyebrows, hair of the body. He doesn't have a beard, but we could say, Chris, you have a beard, so I could see the body hairs. Then I look, I see, well, I'm not focusing on the fingernails, but when I do so, then I see fingernails. And if he smiles, I'll see teeth. And then I see skin. And look around at your neighbors, and what are you actually seeing? You're just seeing those 5 parts when you really come right down to it. Okay, so now we go into the body, beneath the skin. Then we have muscles, and then what are called the sinews, which include tendons and ligaments. I assume everybody knows the difference between tendons and ligaments? Well, I have to confess, I didn't know the difference until a week ago. I was looking to find out, we always meditate sinews, so I was wondering, what are these sinews? Then I looked in the dictionary definition, and I said the word covers both tendons and ligaments. The tendons is the kind of tissue that binds the muscles to the bones. And the ligaments is a similar kind of tissue that binds the bones to each other. The font. I could increase. Magnification. This is better. Okay, so we have muscles, the sinews, which includes tendons and ligaments, then the bones and the bone marrow. So those will form a second group. Then we start moving to the internal organs themselves, kidneys, heart, liver, the diaphragm, spleen, and lungs. Those will form a third group. Then we come to the intestines, which, according to the explanation in the commentaries, includes both the small and large intestines, and then something called mesentery. Is there anybody who doesn't know what the mesentery is? Okay. I didn't know what it is until quite some time ago when I had to look it up. It's a kind of membranous tissue, say, in the abdomen, which binds the small intestines to the wall of the abdomen. We're going to go through the diagrams, and then you'll see what the mesentery is. Okay, then comes the stomach, then the fecal matter, the matter which is accumulating, which will become feces or excrement, and then the brain. Okay, so those complete what are called the solid parts of the body. Then we come to the liquid parts. We have bile, which is stored in the gallbladder. The bile is a kind of liquid, the fluid which plays a role in digestion. Then phlegm, of course we know what phlegm is, particularly when we get a cold or sore throat. Then there's pus, blood, sweat, and fat. So this forms the first liquid group. And then the last group, the second liquid group, we have tears, even when we're not crying, but there's a kind of liquid covering the eyeballs. which protects the eyeballs. And then what's called skin grease. It's a kind of very thin layer of oil which covers over the entire surface of the skin. Then there's saliva, and then snot. This is the mucus accumulated in the nostrils, the upper nostrils. And then there's the fluid of the joints. This is the kind of oily fluid between the joints which enable us to bend and to stretch the limbs. And when that fluid is drying up, then one gets arthritis. And then the last is urine. Okay, now the way the meditation is done, as I said, the parts are divided up into groups. And the teachers in the lineage of meditation masters have taught the way of doing this meditation by first taking one group, going through the parts. Say the first group, one goes through parts from 1 to 5, then backwards from 5 back to 1, then forward again from 1 to 5, then into the next group, 6, 7, 8. In this case, 6, 7, 8, 9. Then from 9 back to 6, from 6 forward to 9, and then proceeding further from 10 to 15, then from 15 back to 10, then from 10 through 15 and onward to 16, and so forth. So in this way, one is going through each group of parts, forward, backward, forward, and on to the next group. And I'm going to guide this meditation, since it's difficult initially to do on one's own. And I'm going to recite each part, and after I recite the name of each part, I'm just going to pause momentarily, and then you reflect that in this body there is such and such a part. The meditation on the body is always directed towards one's own body, not extending outward to others, not at this point universalizing, but it's imasmin yeva kaye, in this very body, in this body itself, there are such and such parts.